So you want to be a Main Street rapper. First of all, why? Honestly, why? I mean, there's a lot of shit. There's a million things that you can actually do that's gonna generate some sort of income. You could be a YouTuber. You can start a website, a blog site, anything. Anything. You can do anything within the entertainment realm, but really, rapping? Alright, look. It's your choice, it's your decision. So whatever you feel that this is for you, then the easy answer is, of course you could become a rapper. It's not that hard to become a rapper. In today's age, anybody could be a rapper. You've seen TikTokers, viral sensations, boxers, basketball players. Even people in their 60s are trying to jump into the rap game.
My wife's pouring.
Now, let me make this very clear. Becoming a rapper may be easy, but when it comes to getting a deal, that may be a bit more difficult. Also, who knows, maybe you might not even want a deal. Maybe you want to go independent. Nonetheless, I got your back. So let ET explain to you how to become a rapper and how to get a deal. And why most likely you'll go broke. Let's get it poppin'.
Rappers told my all his money. If they not touring like a motherfucker, that nigga the baby, I love him. But when he got cancer for them shows, that nigga was down to me with anybody.
Now you might have a justifiable reason why you want to become a rapper or why you chose this profession. It could be monetary gain, fame, notoriety, getting out of the hood, or maybe you want to be a positive influence to the youth. All that don't really matter because everybody has their own reasons, and then when they do make it up there, it tends to change a little bit. It changes to switch up. Some people lose themselves. Nonetheless, the reason why you want to become a rapper doesn't really matter. What matters is the music. So you think you got what it takes to be with the top hip-hop artists. I'm talking about the Lil Babies, Doja Cat, Lil Durk, Juice WRLD, RP for him, Post Malone, Moneybagg Yo, Meg Thee Stallion. Look, there's a whole list of them. But I'm just going to tell you, slow your roll, young Padawan, because most likely it's going to take you years to get there. One thing that you really don't know about these artists is that they're not that new. They've been in the game for a minute now. They've been dropping mixtape and, well, basically working underground for years before they even made it to the top or got some type of recognition. And that's where you're going to start off on. So step number one is getting your name. And when I say getting your name, I'm not talking about making a name out of yourself. I'm talking about an actual name. What you're going to call yourself. You see, every hip-hop artist has some sort of a unique name. Not one that really defines who they are personally, but one that defines the persona that they're portraying. Because let's be honest, there's some guys who's not really about that life, and there's some guys who are. But nonetheless, your name should describe who you are as an entertainer, or what you're trying to portray as an entertainer. Therefore, you need something that's a bit more catchy and easier to remember, because you're gonna be in a pool of millions of rappers that has all these distinguishing names, and you just need something that might stand out from the crowd. Now, if you choose to go with the name that your mama gave you at birth, then that's fine, as long as it's something that's easy on the tongue. You don't want something long like Giannis Antetokounmpo. Antetokounmpo. Now that's a tongue twister right there. No disrespect for the long names, but let's leave that to the league, the NFL, or whatnot. But what if you choose a name and yet another rapper has it? Then you're gonna have to add something or remove something that's gonna actually distinguish the two. Look at the Baby and Lil Baby. They both have babies, but they're both completely opposite people. Also, you don't want to think too hard when it comes to names, because at the end of the day, it's your rap that's really going to define who you are as an individual, and the people will remember your name regardless of how confusing it may be. Unless you're one of the individuals where your rap becomes larger than you. I mean, you don't want to be that kind of guy, LT Genesis, but I digress. Now it's time for you to gain some type of traction, attention to yourself, to your brand, who you are as a rapper. But how? How do you get there? Right now, the best way to really get noticed by the people is through your music. You need that banger, you need that hit. You need something that people can nod their head to, something that people can play in the clubs, something that people can play in the radio or when they're working out, something that people can play during a breakup, something that they could resonate on an emotional level. You need something that people can come to when they want to hear good music. You need something that's gonna get some radio play. Now, I know there are some people who say, well, the best music are the one that's not on radio, and that may be true for the most part, but at the end of the day, you're not conveying to a larger audience. Now, there's non-conventional ways that you can actually get yourself popping or where you can get noticed, and it could be detrimental to your career in the future. I'm talking about trolling, causing controversies, negative controversies, or even if you're one of the guys who's actually representing a set and you want to start beef with another op, that could be very detrimental to your future, especially if you wind up dead. I wouldn't recommend going that route. I mean, you see people like Tekashi 6ix9ine or Lil Pump who likes to troll online and, start BS's too. But as you look at their career right now, it's pretty much dying or dead. Most likely it's dead. I mean, when was the last time I think Lil Pump actually dropped the album and nobody really paid attention to it? Because he's mostly known for his antics and he's no longer known for the music anymore. As for 6ix9ine, I don't even keep track on what the hell he puts out because I'm just tired of seeing the guy online, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are as well. So that's why you don't want to be noticed by your antics. You want to be noticed most likely by your music, such as J. Cole or Kendrick. People notice them for their music, not by their social media posts and not by their antics. Just strictly music. And this is why they could be in hiatus for years and yet drop an album and get so many sales, because that's what people recognize them for the music. And it's not just them, it's a lot of other people too. Sometimes when you're just with the fuckery or the foolery, it doesn't work in the long run. It just doesn't. So pay more attention to the music and try to get that popping. And maybe you can cause a little bit of controversy here and there on some personal bullshit, and that'll probably help you out. But if your music sucks, then most likely you won't last long. On top of that, your first fan base should be your city, the place that you grew up in. Because when shit hit the fan, your city will always have your back.
Too, because I got lit in my city, so they kind of helped me out a lot too. Like, they kept sharing it. See, the difference why I thought I was already famous, because when you come from Patterson and everybody playing your music, you just think, oh, everybody know it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You don't really think, you're not thinking if
you're not thinking about somebody in Houston, you're not thinking about somebody in
like it's like, all right, I'm lit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And how it happened, it's just like people that come visit, they'll bring it out, they'll bring it back with them. Like, people thought I was from Florida, some people thought I was from Atlanta, some people thought I was from LA, and then once it finally got to the point, like, oh, homie from Jersey, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he doing some shit right, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, all right, now where do we go from here?
You don't want to be in Houston representing New York. It just doesn't work that way. Not only that, your city will start hating on you, but then also you'll be viewed as seen as inauthentic. You don't want that on your hip-hop record, especially if you're trying to make it up there. So if you can, connect with some local DJs, do some small events here and there, hook up with a couple of promoters, and see if you get something popping within your city. And maybe you can get a local radio play. I'm not talking about countrywide, such as the Breakfast Club. No, I'm talking about local, and some local radio stations may play your music. And this is where your manager comes into play. You need someone who can make the best business decision for you. Because let's be honest, a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, they're not business people. So you need someone who's actually more knowledgeable within the industry. Someone who have contacts, who can get you in when it comes to radio play or even DJs, local DJs. One that can talk to the promoters for you, thus keeping the weight off of you so that you can focus mostly on your craft. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting your homeboy from the hood, because most likely if you grew up with a guy and he has no knowledge when it comes to the whole music industry, he's just as naive as you are, meaning he'll just get any deal that he can just to make some type of money. But a more seasoned manager, they know how to negotiate, and also they know how to hook you up. And let's say in the future you do get a label deal, you don't want your homeboy negotiating your terms. I would recommend getting a lawyer for that, because he doesn't know as much as you do, and most likely he will sign you up for a 360 deal.
But honestly, a lot of times lawyers know how to negotiate better than your manager. If you came from the hood and your homie is your manager, your homie has no fucking idea how to negotiate a record deal with a big time record label. Trust me.
But we're not focusing on deals right now, or when it comes to the whole record thing. Right now, you just need someone who can hook you up, get you in when it comes to radio play, or when it comes to playing your music in certain venues. Also, word of mouth is the best way to go anyways, because when you start having your whole city talking about you, most likely they're gonna start talking to other cities, because people have relatives, they have friends that lives in other cities, and if they say, hey man, there's this new hot guy in Miami, you should listen to it, they'll have other people listening to it, and then other people will start playing it. So definitely make your first fan base your city. Now, this part might be a little bit boring to some, but this will determine your future finances, because now you're starting to get fan base, popularity, and music play, and this is where labels come into play. And the way you go about it, you might start making a whole bunch of money, or you'll be in a situation where not only that you're financially screwed, but you'll be on IG Live complaining about how your label screwed you over.
I am signed to an independent label. Okay, independent. That mean it ain't no major label. That mean that the shit that y'all be seeing me doing is happening because I am an independent bitch that do independent shit. No, Rock Nation is my management. I'm not signed to Rock Nation as a label. I'm a rapper. No, I've been rapping for a long time. So then we met T. Ferris. And T. Ferris was like, okay, I have this label and I really want you to sign to it. It's an independent label, we just starting up. Me and my mama love T. Ferris. Boom. Signed to 1501. We was doing our own thing. So I started getting more popping. And then I signed with 300. That's another independent label. So when I got with 300, it just happened to go to like a bigger scale. Point blank period.
Now, there's two type of labels. There's independent labels and there's also major labels. Both of them have their own perks and their own pros and cons. With independent label, you have a little bit more freedom when it comes to creating your own musical project. You don't have as much pressure as you do when it comes to working with major labels, because their whole priority is getting you in the charts. And if you have to change something, then most likely you're gonna have to compromise your own creativity if you want to make it big. Where when it comes to independent label, as I said, you have more freedom. Also, with independent labels, you're not signing a 360 deal. For the most part, actually, because I know there are labels who starting to adopt that type of practice, but it's not always the case. And because you're dealing with a more smaller staff, it's not hard to get things done or to communicate with other people when it comes to issues. So in case you run into some type of problem, it's not hard for you to get an immediate answer. And also, because they have a smaller staff and a tighter roster, musicians can actually develop a more closer relationship with the people that you're working with. Now let's talk about the cons when it comes to independent labels. One, they're very disorganized. I mean, they start messing up your paperwork, shit gets slipped through the crack, and they're not good at keeping track of your progress. And the most important part is the money. I mean, to be honest, they're pretty cheap. I mean, they have to think outside the box when it comes to promotions and marketing, because they don't want to spend as much because they're trying to keep themselves afloat. A lot of independent labels are trying to keep themselves afloat. Therefore, they don't have a high budget when it comes to your projects. So don't expect no huge signing bonus when it comes to signing up with an independent label. I mean, you will get some money up front, but we're not talking about the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands. We're talking like maybe $5,000 is the maximum. But if you want to go that route, go ahead. You might have a good reason to, or maybe you're good at promoting yourself, or you have a good social media following. But like I said, we're starting off from scratch, so most likely you don't. And now we get to the bigger labels. We're talking about Universal, Sony, Warner, BMG. I mean, we're not really dealing with them directly. You're going to be dealing with the subsidies such as Atlantic, MMG, 300 Entertainment. Nonetheless, those are the major labels, and they have the biggest budget ever. They're the one who's actually going to launch your career and get you on top. We're talking about billboards. We're talking about connections, features with top artists such as Drake, Migos, Lil Baby, The Baby, Meg, Cardi, Playboy Cardi, all of that. When it comes to major labels, funding and money is not the issue. They can support everything. I'm talking about they invest into your music career, paying for the best producers, sound engineers, and studio in the business. They also have funding for the top publicists and have influential connections when it comes to broadcast media, special advertising, and PR. Nonetheless, radio play. Payola. Payola. God damn shit, my throat.
Section 317 of the Communications Act of 1934 requires broadcasters to disclose to their listeners or viewers if matter has been aired in exchange for money, services, or other valuable consideration. The announcement must be aired when the subject matter is broadcast. Within the context of today's video, payola is giving the radio DJ money for him to play your artist's record in hopes that the artist will gain popularity from the spins. Doesn't sound too harmful, right? Basically, everything in our life is pay to play if you really break it down. But payola is illegal and has a powerful effect on the music industry as it can control who gets popular.
Record labels also understand the complex administration and legalities when it comes to partnerships. Also your rights based on music. They can distribute your music in a larger scale and can get your music playing basically anywhere. I'm talking about streaming platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, Tidal. I'm pretty sure if you do some research, you'll be able to do it, but why worry about that when your label can take care of everything? And that's when we hit the downfall when it comes to signing with a major label, because one thing you guys don't understand is that usually the money that they invest in you, that huge bonus that they gave you in the beginning once you signed that paperwork, that contract, you gotta pay it all back. I know that 500,000 or that 100,000 or whatever they gave you, I know it was sweet money, but you gotta pay it back. And to be honest, you're not just paying back that measly 100,000. No, you're paying everything back. You're paying back the studio time, the A&R, the marketing, the payolas, the private jets, the traveling fees, the hotels, the partying that they most likely pay for due to your negligence. Oh, and also legal fees. A lot of legal fees. And also legal fees that's not within the realm of the contract. Sometimes they can help you out and sometimes they can't. Such as Bobby Shmurda. You guys remember that when I believe Epic Record, they didn't really want to help him with his court fees and all that other stuff. I mean, he was getting locked up and the case was pretty high on him. So they didn't really help him on that. But there are cases when your label will actually provide some of the money if they believe that you are innocent of whatever crime that you have committed. But then you gotta stop doing all the stupid shit, because at the end of the day you still have to pay them back even for those court fees. Kodak Black, by the way, I'm Haitian too and I was born in Miami and I love Kodak Black, but dude, you be fucking up. Honestly, you gotta stop fucking up. Jesus. Now you might be thinking to yourself, all I have to do is make a hot album. Well, that's kind of hard to obtain, especially if you're just starting off or if you're brand new.
The myth, I don't know if y'all think that record labels pay artists every month. They don't. So let's say you're 1.6 no home. The label says you got to make an album. We got $1 million budget for you to make it, right? That $1 million is going to go to studio time. I'm simplifying shit. So your recording budget to pay for features, to pay for samples, to pay for clearances, let's say it's $1 million, right? So now you're $2.6 million in the fucking hole. You haven't made these motherfuckers a dime. This is why when rappers say, my label not paying me. Nigga, you know how much they spent on you? Let's just say $500,000 for promotion. When people are putting money to radio, they'll say, hey, we need this song. It's a big song. Put it to radio. It'll be like $250,000 earmarked for that one song to a radio promo team, or maybe $500,000. For the bigger shit that you can't really do that because it's quote quote illegal, you then you be like, yo, hey, I'm gonna buy some ads, wink wink, if you play this song. I'm gonna give the station money if you play this song, right? $50,000, $100,000 to the bigger stations. This is how it works. I'm telling you how it goes. What I'm basically trying to tell you, this, you pay a separate fee for all this shit, okay? So basically now, before you sell a fucking record, you're like 3 to 4 million in the hole. Your album comes out and does 50 fucking thousand copies.
Yeah, that's how it works. Nonetheless, you're still making a large amount of money, and all of that adds up. I'm talking about sponsorships, things like that. They all will add up into your whole income. So why do rappers complain about their labels? Why do you see them bitching and moaning and all this other stuff on IG Live? Rappers are trying to find that next hit song, but the thing that they do not understand is that your label needs to recoup. A lot of rappers, they don't know how to save their money. I mean, they buy the latest jewelry, cars, mansions, and all of that. It actually exceeds the budget that they have already given you, and that's why they tend to take loans from the labels. So the more money you spend, the more you owe. So even if you sign a deal for 200 grand, most likely you put yourself in debt for 2 million and you owe them that 2 million. Everybody are upset with their labels because they thought that they could get a monthly check, but it doesn't work like that. You don't get a monthly check. Sometimes you get royalties, sometimes you don't when it comes to certain type of songs. You see, everything is dictated through that label and also that contract. They're the one who dictate how much you get, when do you get it, and when you're allowed to drop the next album. And this is why you always gotta check your label. Well, really your contract. So what choices do you have? Do you want to stay in the projects or do you want to sign the deal with the devil? And most likely some people take the deal with the devil. Oh, by the way, your label owns your master forever. I'm talking about forever. I mean, you might have a chance to actually purchase your master. This is why you have to be financially literate, because you'll have a chance to purchase your masters in the future where you can do whatever you want with it. You can license your songs to commercials, movies, TV shows, and get 100% of the money. But if your label has your masters, the only thing that they could probably do is cut you a royalty check. And like I said, that's a maybe.
Some artists don't want to be.
So hopefully you guys learned something in this video. I had a lot of fun making it, actually doing some research for you guys. I just didn't want to stick to the whole entertainment part when it comes to becoming a rapper. I also wanted to add some finance in there so that you guys don't actually make a mistake. And again, do you guys really want to become a rapper? I mean, it's a saturated market. Nonetheless, you could make some type of income. I mean, just know one thing, rapping is not usually viewed as something that's long term. So invest your money, be wise, look at your contract, don't fuck up. And you guys, I love you all. So until the next video, peace. And also make sure you guys like and subscribe, and also hit the bell button for future videos. I'm already working on the next video right now, so stay tuned. Peace.